check your tuning. That's right. Oh, I gotta get rid of the take one. You're right. Get rid of that. All right. Thanks, Sam. I mean, Bob. I was going a little bit of Mixolydian in there too. It's hard to it's really hard to kind of stick to one scale. Okay, so what's going on? Oh, Matthew, what's going on? Good morning. Happy Thanksgiving. Oh, in Canada. Is it Canadian Thanksgiving? So you have the day off, is that what you're saying? Everybody kind of doing the greeting. We got Holly here. Where's Bruce is okay. Literally hit start streaming right at 9 o'clock, so I probably caught a lot of people off guard. So yeah, we're gonna. I kind of want to just continue to talk on this. Boy, it looks so bright here. I'm like, am I really? I don't know. When I watch the repeat, it doesn't look as washed out as it does here on my monitor. But Paul Meyer, old friend. Paul Meyer and I have known each other since junior high. Yeah, we jammed for hours back in your. Well, that was over at Cal's house, right? Or did we practice? No, we practiced at your house because you had the piano, I think. I can't remember. I think Cal lived in your neighborhood, though. Cal was a drummer. So Paul and Cal English and I had a band together in junior high school. Well, you're from Indiana. You want to learn how to play guitar? Indiana. Listen to me. India. I'm from Indiana. Whoa. What are the odds? That's a Woody Harrelson quote from Cheers. He goes to the bus station and meets somebody from India, and he's from Indiana, and it's like, whoa, what are the odds? Anyway, yeah, no, it's playing guitar is fun. It's I've always said, and I probably could, I should probably do a video on this and totally get challenged on it, but I think it's kind of like guitar is one of the easiest instruments to start on, but I think it's one of the hardest to master. And the reason I say that is because, I don't know, to be considered a master, I mean, I would say Guthrie Govan comes fairly close. I don't know if I've ever heard him play classical guitar, but think of all the genres that guitar is prevalent in. And so for me to think of you to master, I would almost think you'd have to be good at a lot of different styles, because there are people that are really, really good at one style, but they're completely lost in all the others. And that's fine, because I've always said, you know, you can, if you're really, really, if you're the best at one style, you're probably going to be okay. You're going to probably be working. If you can play a lot of styles, you're probably going to be working. So, but you don't have to be the best at any of those. And that I kind of fall in that, like, I try to play too many styles and wish that I had more lifetimes that I could dedicate to different genres like flamenco and gypsy jazz, and even some of the Arabic instruments that I would love to be able to play, even some of the Greek stuff. You know, almost feel like you have to be born into it to become a master of it, and that's almost what makes it impossible. But you know, to be a master rock guitar player and a classical guitarist, you know, there's not many guys that can do that, or bebop, jazz, and bluegrass. Now, Julian, is it, how do you say his name? Lang? Is it Lang? Julian Lang? He's really good at bluegrass and really good at jazz. I mean, he's kind of like avant-garde jazz more than anything. I mean, I'm sure he can play over bebop changes. I've told this story before where I had a student of mine. Oh, thank you, David. God bless you. Thanks for the coffee. I had a student of mine, in British pounds even, sterling, as it's called. I had a student, a pentatonic scale is a 5-note scale. Diatonic scale, like do, re, mi, is 7 notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then C again. So do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can play in 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so anyway, there's very few guitar players that can kind of, you know, play in really well in a lot of different genres. But pentatonic scales are generally, the reason why they are so popular on guitar is because when you play pentatonic scales, and minor pentatonics and major pentatonics are identical. It's just a different starting note. It's like a minor scale and a major scale. Same exact notes, but instead of starting on C, I started on A, and I created an A minor scale. Same thing's true with the pentatonics. A minor pentatonic is A, C, D, E, G. But the beauty of it, if you notice, I'm only playing 2 notes per string. So that makes it super consistent for your left hand. There are some scales, if you play them in one position, like that A minor scale I just played, if I played this scale in one position, I've got 3 notes here, 2, I've got a shift, another shift, and 3 notes. So I have 3 notes on 5 of the strings, but 2 notes on 1 of the strings. That's why I like to play 3-pers, which is my name for 3 per string, 3-pers. So that I would play like A minor, maybe like this. I would elongate it a little bit just so that I can have the consistency of having 3 notes per string. And that makes it more consistent for my left hand, but it also makes it more consistent for my right hand. So with pentatonic scales, we have 2 notes per string. My right hand can just go down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, like that. And that's what I would call number 1 pentatonic, which is the one I have up here in the up here upper left corner of the scale. That's actually the first pentatonic scale I teach anybody, and that works really good over an A7 chord. It creates some tension, but A7 would be the first chord in a blues. So if I just loop that first bar, I can practice my pentatonic too. That note rubs though, because there's a C sharp in the chord, and you're playing a C natural, and so it sounds right. It kind of has that rub to it, but that's what makes something sound bluesy, is to play the flat third on top of a major third. That's one thing. The other thing you can do is add the flat 5, which is not in the scale. That's the flat 5. Something as easy as that. Hold on, let me turn it down a little bit. Something as easy as that lick, where I'm just pulling off the 8th fret to the 5th fret. You can use your 3rd finger if you want. I prefer to use my pinky. Kind of a B.B. King lick. And that's 2 of the notes in the pentatonic scale, you can see. And those R's are the roots. So in this case, this is an A minor pentatonic. So those R's are all A's. So if you line that note up with whatever chord key you want to play in, if I wanted to play in C over a C7 chord, then I would line those R's up to, you only have to pick one of them. You don't have to line them all up and go make sure they're all correct. But just get that first finger on a C. That's why I always say memorize the bottom 2 strings, and that'll help you find all your pentatonic scales. Because you'll notice there's a root on the bottom string and there's a root on the 5th string on these scales. So as long as you can find the root note on those 2 strings, you'll have a better shot at finding the scale. So if I just put my first finger on C, E, F, G, A, B, C. Now I've got now I've got a C minor pentatonic, which works over a C7 chord, among other things. And so many rock licks. I mean, you've heard a million licks like back to A, you know, like, right? That's a very common rock lick. It's just a pentatonic lick. It's pentatonics are fairly simple. So, I mean, the first time you do that, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. But it's a little hard. This action's too low on this telly. Or yeah, I don't like to have action this low on the telly. I had it adjusted, but it's still not quite right. Because on tellies, you like to do a lot of bends, you know, things like. Just like, you know, that kind of. It's just hard with the actions low. The string keeps slipping out from under my finger. And so it's a neck adjustment. It's such a pain to adjust necks on tellies because you have to take them off because the neck adjustment's down here. You have to literally take the neck off, adjust it, put it back on, and then see if it's right. So, okay. Holly, thanks for all that. Yep. Sam is giving you the skinny on the pentatonic scales. If you know a major scale, and you know, a lot of you can play a major scale on the piano, right? If you learned any piano at all. So a major pentatonic would be the 1, 2, 3, skip the 4, go to 5 and 6, and skip the 7, go to the 1 again. So we have a total of 5 notes. 1, 3, 4, 5. The minor pentatonic would be 1, flat 3, 4, 5, 7. Flat 7, sorry. I should practice my minor pentatonics. It's easier to do A minor pentatonic. You just lay your hand on a piano and you make stuff. Pianos are pretty easy to start out on too, also difficult to master. I was watching a pianist play a Beethoven concerto that was about 30 plus minutes long. And I couldn't believe, she was a Japanese lady. She looked just like Michiko at my church. And her hands were so strong. The stuff that she was doing with her hands, it was like, and she's playing with an orchestra. So she's got to get that. There are times where that piano has to be louder than the full orchestra. And then the other thing, I couldn't believe she memorized. I mean, there's no music anywhere to be found. She totally memorized the whole thing. I was just like, oh man, that would just stress me out. I would just be sitting there the whole time going, I know I'm going to forget something. It would just not go well. Oh, Dreams, Lord of the Rings song. Oh yeah, it's Howard Shore quoted, "This is my father's world." This is my. But he's basically quoting an old hymn. This is my father's world. And that gives it kind of an old world quality, British quality. This is my father's world was, who wrote it? It could have been British as well. This is my father's world. Hymn, Christian hymn, written by Maltby Davenport Babcock, a minister from New York, and published posthumously in 1901. But when did he write it? It was published after his death. It's a pretty common. In fact, it even talks about, the lyrics are, "This is my father's world, and to my listening ears, all nature sings, and round me rings the music of the spheres. This is my father's world, I rest me in the thought of rocks and trees and skies and seas, his hand the wonders wrought." And, to me, that even just sounds like a Hobbit sentiment, right? It's all about trees and plants and farming and pre-industrialization. Lord of the Rings was not about World War II. In fact, he started writing it before, probably not before Hitler, but before World War II started officially. And he was more of an anti-industrialist. Which I wouldn't say that I am, because I'm really enjoying doing this live stream all over the world. So, however, Tolkien's one of his things was that industrialization took fathers away from their boys, from their sons. And that's, definitely true. Men went away to work instead of staying home and working from home, and basically training up the son in the father's business. I mean, think about, if you know anyone with the last name Farmer, it's probably because their great-great-great-grandfather was a farmer, and that's how they got their name. There's Cooper, which is a barrel maker, which was one of the most important jobs, because that was how you stored stuff and got things around, so moved things around. Anyway, yeah, and in a lot of ways, when we were living in Pasadena, raising 3 kids, my wife stayed home. I worked from home. I trained my oldest up in the family business. We homeschooled, and we walked everywhere. So we almost could have been transplanted into a world 200, 300, 400 years ago and maybe have been fine. I don't know. I think we would have starved. I would have had a hard time finding any electric guitar opportunities. But there is something about simplicity of that life that was wonderful, and don't really envy anybody who has to battle traffic every morning to go to work. That's no fun. I wonder if anybody listens to me on their way to work on Mondays. I mean, that probably not, because it's 9 o'clock when I start, and that's pretty much everybody's at work in America by 9 o'clock Western time. But thumbs up. Thank you, Matthew. So yeah, so what I talked about, and I'm going to go back here. We've done three kind of different lessons on this, and the thing is, I talked about that. Okay, so for example, this is interesting. Okay, what we're looking at here, if you look at the top left, that major pentatonic, if you put your pinky, see the pinky, the R is pinky. If I put that on an A, I'm going to get a major sounding pentatonic. Play that with me. It's okay to start on the F sharp. It doesn't really matter. You want to have, it's nice to have 2 notes per string, and you want to have all the notes at your disposal. In fact, you can go down to the E if you wanted. Which is a very common lick using the major pentatonic. So we're going to go 2nd fret with the 1st finger, 2, 5, 2, 4, 2, 4, 2, 4 again, 2, 5, 2, 5 again. And then if we just go up 3 frets and do the same scale, I'm just playing it backwards, that is the minor pentatonic, A minor pentatonic. See the R there on the 1st finger? So that's the major pentatonic, and right below it on the left-hand side of the screen is the minor pentatonic. Okay, I'm going to go back and forth between those 2 scales. Again. That's a little bit like slippy slidey, which I kind of like sometimes. And so, like I said, the pentatonic scale next to this one, the major pentatonic here on the 2nd fret, is this one here that I wrote out that you can see right next to the minor pentatonic. So that's where you get those 2 together, and you could see, you could go back and forth between the major and the minor without leaving the position, or only having to shift 1 fret. But I'm going to go ahead and do the 2 scales over the A. Whoops. Here we go. See, I added the D, but try that lick, okay? That's that really kind of common lick. Okay, so 2 on the 4th string, 2, 4, 2 on the 3rd string, sorry. Then go to 4, and then slide up to D at the 7th, and then go to 5. So that might be a lick you might come up with using those 2 scales. Something like that, and if the opposite might be where I went 5 on the 5th string or 4th string, 5, 7, 5, slide down to 2, and then 4, 2, there. That's kind of cool. I'm kind of combining the scales, going back and forth, and that's kind of the idea, is that by moving a pentatonic scale around, in this case, in all cases, if you want to make a major pentatonic minor, just move it up 3 frets. Doesn't matter which major. So if I play this major scale, if I move it up 3 frets, now I'm playing A minor pentatonic. So if you want to make a major pentatonic minor, move it up 3 frets. If you want to make a minor pentatonic major, move it down 3 frets. All right. Now, a major pentatonic's not going to work over like a minor blues. It would work over a major blues, but not over a minor blues. All right. Oh. Hey, Jan, what's going on? Good Avond. I probably said that completely wrong. And Holly, thanks for typing. I'm assuming you have this somewhere pre-typed out and you're copying and pasting. Not to say you're lazy, but yeah, I have 800 plus videos. Yeah, a lot of live stream videos because that's something I've been pretty consistent about. I'm actually thinking about doing I haven't decided. I think I may make it. You know, it's just like if I bite off too much and make it too long a video, then I got to create all these. Yeah, as far, you start, Sam is saying that F sharp minor, actually it's almost easier to see this way, A minor is the same as C major. You just start on a different note, but A minor pentatonic and C major pentatonic are the same exact notes, just like A minor diatonic scale and C major diatonic scale, the same notes. You just start on different notes. It's real easy to see on a piano. Piano is like that's a C major scale, C to C. And if I just go over and start on the D and do all white keys, that's a Dorian scale. And do everything, E Phrygian scale, and you go to F Lydian. They all have a different quality to them, but they're all the same notes. It's really fascinating. So if I want to write a song like, if I want to write something in kind of in an F Lydian key, it has a very different sound than a major scale. Like if I were to do that same thing in F major, it's a very different sound than Lydian. Lydian always sounds very dramatic, very movie score like. It's a fun. Fun to write in. And then C major, if I were has a different sound, but if I went to C Lydian, you can totally hear that total change. That one note change makes a world of difference. And so the same thing's to a pentatonic. When you play one pentatonic scale, A minor pentatonic, then C is right there. I've got to click on my, there we go. Now that's going to be too loud. So you can use two pentatonic shapes, the same pentatonic shape, and just go back and forth between them, okay? Maybe make note of where those roots are. I like that though. But the same licks, like for example, that lick doesn't really sound, it doesn't sound the same when you move it down to the major. So the licks don't necessarily translate the same, but the scales are fun. The scales will lead you to some of the riffs. So it's, again, it's a way. Now yeah, you know, it's kind of cool to create very angular lines using those two scales and that kind of quick back and forth. But probably more likely what I would do is do a little bit in the major and a little bit in the minor. You know, kind of set people up thinking kind of happy major scales, and then all of a sudden go to the blues and kind of create some tension there by going back and forth, but spending some time on each one of them. But at the same time, you can use the scales. You can use those scales to kind of come up with, you know, very angular, disjointed riffs that, you know, you might not normally think of just playing the blues. Hey, Bruce is in the house. You doing okay? Yeah, you're a few minutes late. Where have you been, young man? What's happening? Let's see, what is going on? I'm trying to think. Has there been anything? No new guitars. I'm actually looking for a guitar right now. Thinking about getting a Jaguar. I don't have one. And I love the sonic options of the Bass 6, which is basically kind of pseudo Jaguar electronics. And its Jaguars are kind of bright and nasty sounding, and I've got a couple things that would come in real handy for. So, hey, Rick G, how's it going? Good to see you. Are you new? I don't recognize that. Well, I mean, it's just a blue R, so not very memorable. What's my? Oh, mine's. Oh gosh, you know that's funny that my avatar is pretty old. That's probably 10 years old, and who took that of me? Josh must have taken that. I'm actually, if I'm not mistaken, let me see if I can find the original photo. I'm at Henson Studios, and for some reason I'm on Kook's laptop, or maybe I'm on Justin Bieber's laptop. I can't remember. Let me see. Professional. Yeah, that's actually, what guitar is that? That's not my, is that my, no, that's not my guitar. What am I playing? I think that's Kook's laptop. Oh no, that's not the original. That's a different photo. Okay, so what's that? Oh, that's just, I think that's just me in my studio. I was thinking of a different, because I'm playing the Strat in that photo, aren't I? You can't really tell, it's so small. I don't know. Maybe it's here. Is it? Somebody took one of my photos that I posted and gave me a fifth finger. See, no, that's not the photo. It's so weird. I don't know what photo that is exactly. Anyway, I'm sure I'm really exciting. It's very exciting to you all. But yeah, so this was a couple weeks ago. The graphics from a couple of weeks ago, and on the far right is all of those minor pentatonics laid out. So there's 5 minor pentatonics, and basically you can see the one down here. And that's what I would call pentatonic number 5, because this is the best one, number 1. All right, and then the next one would be number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 5, which can be played here or down here. And it really is advantageous to know these. Oh, okay, yeah. The one I'm looking at is a. I don't really care about the color. It's actually kind of a seafoam green. Like I said, I mean, I may take it out to play, but I don't really play out very much except at church. I try not to anyway. But it's got the '60s electronics, which is what I want. The '60s pickup. I don't want anything with like humbuckers or anything. I've got guitars like that. I don't need anything like that. I need something. Answering your silly question. Oh, what do the blue? So yeah, are they blue? They look purple to me. But yeah, that's because they're administrators. They tell me what to do. They're my bosses. Now see, Holly, if I typed "I got your back," for some reason, whenever I try to type the word "your," I just go too fast and I just type "you." So I would have said, I got you back," which means kind of the opposite. So yeah, and then the other way you can go back and forth between major minor. In fact, I think kind of the better way is to do them in the same position. So, and then you can kind of create these hybrid scales, which are all byproducts of blending the two scales right here. That minor pentatonic with this major pentatonic, and this is pentatonic number 2. So if this is number 1 down here, the major pentatonic number 1, major pentatonic number 2 would be here. And it's based on this chord. So if you play the A major chord here, all right, to help you out a little bit, if you play this A major chord, this A major bar chord that's based on the E chord, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, A, this is 1/2 of the notes in that major pentatonic. You can see this shape in that pentatonic scale right here, okay? If I could rotate it, oops, there we go. If I could rotate it, I probably can. Make it bigger. Ooh, that's weird. I can crop it. Why would I do that? What happens if I do it here? No. I'm trying to rotate it. Anyway, you can kind of see that. You can kind of see that A major shape. The E form right there. I wish you could see my cursor, but you can't. You see me moving stuff around, but you can't see my little cursor. If you could see my cursor, I could point out the notes I'm talking about. But anyway, you should be able to see that. So within that scale, you have these notes, and that's 50% of your notes. So that should help you find that scale. That doesn't apply to the minor pentatonic, but if you play an A minor scale, then you also have 50% of the notes. Okay. Holly is the best. Joseph, what's going on? 1. It is a singular honor to be moderator for Tom. It should be moderator of Tom. I bid Tom. Yeah, so I'm kind of looking around Craigslist and things like that for a Jaguar. There's one I found, Alex found, of course, and I may go take a look at it tonight. It always makes me a little nervous. You know, I'm not going to show up with cash. Generally, the protocol there is to play it, check it out, maybe find a mutual place, and you know, like a Starbucks or something. The only problem is you can't plug a guitar into Starbucks. And then if you like it, then you go to the bank and get them cash or whatever. Also difficult though if you're. I think probably would take Venmo. Well, okay, Keys Cook. Oh. What would be the blues notes worked on that pentatonic? Okay, there's two different ways we approach the blues notes, okay? When we're in the minor, we're going to flat the 5. So if we're playing a minor pentatonic like that, this one over here, no, sorry, over here, not this one. Sorry. Let's move this up here. Okay, this one right here, the minor pentatonic. Just so you know, it's 1, 3, 4, 5, 7. 1, 3, 4, 5, 7. More accurately, it's 1 flat 3 when we're talking about how we got here from the major scale. 1 flat 3, 4, 5, flat 7. 1 flat 3, 4. I don't want to confuse you, but hear the 4, 5 thing. 1, 3, 4, 5, 7. 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1, 3, and so on. The note between the 4 and the 5 is your blues note. So you can think of it as a sharp 4, or you can think of it as a flat 5. I generally think of it as a flat 5, but you can go approach it from either note. So for example, if I were to approach it from the 4, that would be the note right there. And it's also here, it's also up here, but isn't that aqua lung, right? And so it's kind of a common way to play that blues tone. Right? So I'm going flat 5 to the 4 or sharp 4 to the 4, but again, flat 5 to the 4 makes more sense. Okay, but I can also go to it from the 5. I'm going from the flat 5 to the 5. Where I go. One of my favorite licks is to go 5, flat 5, 4, flat 3, 1. One of the reasons I like that lick is because it's 5 notes. So if I play it over this blues and I play 2, 3, if I play 16th notes, if you play 5 16th notes, it's going to get out of. It's not going to line up every time, so it sounds more random. So that's why I like playing a group of 5. So it'd be like. So it sounds a little more random. If I did a 4-note lick like. Oh wait, what did I just do? That would be, just sounds like the same lick over, which it is, the same lick over and over again. But if I add that blues note, I was doing triplets before, sorry. So this is 16th notes. Matthew, you won't have any disagreement in this live stream, I'm sure. Key caught me. Yeah, I was playing triplets before, sorry. But playing 5-note triplet figures is also randomizing. If I were to do 5 notes, that would sound like this. 5. That would be 5. And 4. Yeah. Triplets would be. So those are some of the variations. I guess I could do sixes. That would be weird. But I do like groupings of 5. It's one of Eric Johnson's favorite ones, is to take the pentatonics, do like a grouping of 5 thing, where you finish off with a group of 6. I love doing that. It again kind of creates more of a random sound rather than having like this kind of it just sounds too vanilla, too out of the box, you know, or in the box, kind of like, oh, I just bought this from the store. It's a new pentatonic lick, you know. I like to do things a little bit more disjointed, but I have friends that are much better at that. But anyway, let's see. So, and that flat 5 you can get here, it actually, you know, it actually fits in your hand really well when you play it that way. Watch this. So, play this with me on 5th fret with your first finger, then 8th fret, 5, 6, 7, 5, 7. 5, 7, 8. There's our blue note right there, blues. And then 5, 8, 5, 8. But I could also go down this way to there to get that flat 5. Because there are times where it might be, you may want to use it, you may want to hammer from the flat 5 to the 5. You can't really do it. You can do that. That's just a lick where I'm getting an A on top and I'm hammering the flat 5 to the 5, and then the flat 4, or the 4 to the flat 5, and then I'm going down to the C. Just trying to make interesting lines. No worries, key. Oh, you also use the 3 flat 3, yeah, and like I said, when you superimpose these 2 scales over each other, the major and the minor, oops, you get all sorts of interesting, you know, you've got, now you have the, like if I play the top 4 notes of the major pentatonic, I get a little box like that, which is 5, 6, 1, 2. Okay, if I play the minor pentatonic, I get a 1, 5, a flat 7, a 1, and a flat 3. But I can play all three of them on each string, or I can like, I love that because you're going back and forth between the 6 and the flat 7. And that just sounds really nice over a dominant 7th chord. And it's the same thing as this. Basically what you're playing is, but we did this before, but and then on the first string you've got the root, the 2nd, and the flat 3. Okay, but what's cool is like over the A chord, that sounds good. 5, 8, 5, 8. Over the D chord, the 5, 7, 5, 8 sounds good. And over the E chord, the 5, 8, 5, 7. So in other words, I'm playing over the whole progression here, again, we call these snippets, right? That's what we've been calling them. And so the A minor, and then. So you can see where I can go back and forth. Oh, weird. I put that in a weird spot. Oh no. No, that was the right spot. Okay. You can see where I went from these 5/8 for the A, which was the root, the flat 7, I keep saying the root. The 5, flat 7, the root, and the flat 3. And then when you go to the D chord, the 4 chord, then you just take that 7 down to the 6. But now if you think about what it is over the D, then I'm playing the 2nd, the 3rd, the 5th, and the flat 7. Which sounds good over there. Now I like that scale over the A as well. That's what B.B. King would play. So another question. When fretting a 5 and then a flat 5, are they one semitone apart? Yes. Yeah, in fact, I can play them at the same time if I want. The stuff you can do on guitar that you can't do on piano, like that unison thing. That's kind of fun. So you can make a very subtle change, and you can accommodate that 4 chord. You can accommodate the 5 chord. I just lowered that flat 3 down to that C down to a B, and I created a pure E minor pentatonic over that E7 chord. E, G, A, and B. No worries, Key. That makes me happy. Okay, so yeah, but like combining these two scales, you could do a hybrid. We talked about it before. You could create. That chromatic passage from the 2 to the 4. And then if you add the blues note in there, you can have the 3 to the 5, which I like. Do that with me, okay? So what we're starting on, you can kind of visualize the A major chord. We're starting on the C sharp with our first finger, and then we're hitting the root with our second finger, which is on the 7th fret of the 4th string. Okay. Then with my third finger, I'm going to play the 7th fret. And that's the 4. 3. If I were, to create a sus thing. And then if you go up another fret, you get that flat 5. And now you get the 5. You go again. And we're using the A note as what we kind of call a pedal tone. Okay? It's a pedal tone. The reason it's called pedal tone is mainly because an organist would play bass notes with their feet. So if I were to do this in G, I could go open G string. I could do it with one finger if I wanted to. Okay? That's essentially what I'm doing. B, C, D flat, D. But over A, it's... Or you can go backwards. It's just kind of a fun way to use that chromatic thing without necessarily sounding too chromatic. But little blues lick that we did. Remember that grouping of 5, 5, flat 5, 4, flat 3. There's a chromatic element if I go to from the flat 3 to the 3. So that's like I'm playing 5 chromatic notes in a row almost. So that's first finger on the 5th fret of the 2nd string, then pinky on the next string down on the 8th, 7 for the 3rd finger, first finger on the 3rd string, 5th fret, and then 2nd finger on the 3rd string at the 6th fret, and then go to the root here on the 7th fret, or the root on the 1st string. Almost sounds like a melody of some kind. It just sets up, sounds like it's going, I'm basically setting up the D chord. So it's like a 1, it's like, could be a 1 lick. And I could do the thing. Could do the same thing in D if I wanted to. And then that might. Sounds like a kind of a ragtimey song, or maybe a blues song. Blue Monk. I get them mixed up. Blue Monk is. All right, so what's going on here? Let's see. Am I missing out on something? Well, thanks, Matthew. You're too kind to say that. Yeah, and you feel free to promote me. I'm almost at 110,000 subscribers, which is pretty cool. The way I get up to do the way leaps and bounds are achieved oftentimes are like this, boom. Are often because of viewers like you guys, and when you go and promote, I don't know that, I still go to forums every now and then. I just don't. I'm not as much. Forums were kind of a big thing like 10 years ago or 20 years ago, even way back, the beginning of the internet, Usenet and all that. I didn't know. I didn't have internet back then, but my friend Mark Wine has a forum, and I haven't been on it in a long time. And I hate to just go on it to promote new videos. I feel it's a little cheesy, but I will. Mark, if you're watching, sorry. But it's only because I've created a video that I think people might be interested in, or that might be helpful to someone. In fact, I should probably just pose the question, hey, what lesson would you like me to talk about, or what theory thing would you like me to talk about? But I'm also don't want to compete with Mark, because Mark does videos as well. So, and then I'll go to Acoustic Guitar Forum, which I've found to be a very friendly forum. There's other forums that are just full of idiots. The gear, what is the one? Gear sluts. There's a couple. I mean, do I still have them bookmarked? It's just it got really old. It's like somebody. Yeah, Gear Sluts is pretty bad. Harmony Central used to be good. I haven't been there in a long time. Oh, it's not even there anymore. Hilarious. It's a Bitcoin website now. Hilarious. Are you kidding me? Let me Google Harmony Central and see what they did. I mean, clearly it had been a long, well, okay, so my link was, So I got to get rid of that link. Whatever that link was, it wasn't very good. It must have been a link to a certain page. So it still exists. Harmony Central's still here. Forums, you know, electric guitar, bass guitars, synth acoustic guitars. I don't know. It's the funny thing is that you make a statement and people just feel like there's a certain element of forum people that hang out at forums. It's for one thing, if you're hanging out at a forum, you're not playing and you're not practicing, and you're not working. You're just hanging out at a forum, like you guys hanging out at a live stream. No, because see, this you probably, hopefully, half of you at least have a guitar in your hand as I'm showing you stuff, or at least you're hearing me talk about the theory or the concepts behind this stuff, and so you're learning something. And I learned something from forums. It's the first place I go if I have a software issue or a Mac issue. I go to Mac forums and things like that. But it's just funny when you have people disagree with you that you can't play a cheap guitar on a major record, and I'm like, you want to bet? And it's like, yeah, no, you need to have cheap guitars are crap. You can't they're worthless. If you play awful and they sound awful, intonation is awful. You can't. They're not usable at all. You need to spend $5,000 on an electric guitar. I'm like, no, you don't. I don't think I have what you would consider a single vintage. Well, I have a 60s 175 that I'm actually going to probably use in a video pretty soon, because I'm going to do. Like I said, I'm thinking about. I think it's going to be a series of videos on playing through 251 progressions, which is kind of more of a pro guitar secret kind of thing. But no, cage system is exactly what you want to be thinking about, because Matthew, because when you learn guitar, generally you learn open chords first. You learn a Neil Young song or something. You learn something where you're learning C chord, an A chord, an E chord, a D chord, and a G chord. And the beauty of that is, so you learn those 5 chords, and now you have the tool that you can use to visualize chords up and down the neck, but also scales associated with those chords, and scales pentatonic, diatonic, adjacent, or using those chords to anchor themselves. So when I'm soloing, I'm generally using the caged method to kind of visualize my fretboard up and down over the chord or in the key. If we're in the key of C, I might just see all the C chords up and down the neck, and that'll help me navigate and find all the C major scales and all the C pentatonics, even the C minor pentatonics if I want to go to a minor pentatonic. Like I said, if it's over a jazzy kind of thing. So yeah, no, I don't think it's too early to go to cage method. The other thing is, one of the things you want to learn to do is to start, and I think I'm drop D. Yeah. So I'm in drop D. So you can, that's a D chord there, a D shape. Here's the A. Here's the C. See, that's hard. The B, the A form. But all those songs that use those kind of little mini shapes, these are caged shapes. This is the E form. This is the D form. Another D form. A form. E form. E form. D form. A form. And then you could just start messing with them. Like I might take that the A form here and take that 5th and take it down to the 4th. Do the same thing over the G, which is the E form of G chord. Yeah, I was doing some kind of dirgy Western acoustic stuff for a TV show. I'm gonna do some more today, but they're using some of my music on the show, and they asked for more music like that because it was really kind of on point. I forget what the name of the show is, though. Well, it's on Discovery, I think. Let's see. Okay, here we go. Hoffman Family Gold. I don't know that show. I should. Oh, it's a new one. Okay. Is it airing yet? I guess it's airing. Not for good ratings, but it doesn't really matter. People watch these shows. I don't want to have the music play accidentally, so I'm going to turn that off. Yeah, so... Oh. Interesting. What was this? Oh, it was a while ago. All right, so... Yeah, so that's kind of what I was doing. That's why I was in that tuning. See, that sounds like a Sunday morning gardening show. Yeah, the stuff that I was doing was a little more dark than that. It was all minor, like, yeah. You know, maybe more. I like this Wiegand pick, sounds great. Usually I have a plan when I start recording, when I hit record. Sometimes I'll put like a 4 on the floor kick, and then, you know, play to that. Sometimes I'll do a pattern on the kick, boom, 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 or a boom, 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 kind of a heartbeat kick or something. Just give me something to play with. And, you know, at some point maybe I could do a video on that, right? But I don't want to, those are secrets I don't necessarily want to give away. But I often will put in, like, ultimately it'll be 15 to 20 tracks when I'm all said and done. On this series, it's, you know, drums, kick, snare kind of thing. Maybe a hi-hat thing that I do some weird effecty with. Some whoosh kind of tracks. Keyboard pads. Maybe a melody on a like a really dark piano with some you know, like I've got this, you know, I've got a piano sound that I do that's like really dark and delayed, which is great for just kind of tucking under dialogue, because that's the key. These shows are almost all dialogue, so they don't really need complex music. They want something simple. Let's see, where is it? So I'm on D minor. You know, might do like an ostinato kind of repeating phrase. Am I making you hungry? Who's making you hungry? Ketchup on fries. Yeah, mayonnaise on fries, I'm not a big fan of ketchup. I don't know why. I just never really liked it. Mayonnaise on fries, definitely ranch dressing or blue cheese dressing, I'm down. But mayonnaise was a European thing. That's what they did in Amsterdam, and it was actually pretty good. I was like, you know what? I could do this. So yeah, that was what I got used to. Dennis, see, that's funny. Dennis said mayonnaise. Yeah, Dennis is in the Netherlands, so that's why that's what they do there. Yeah, ketchup is a kind of an American thing. I think Americans have this reputation of putting ketchup on everything. That's probably less true than was it Tapatico sauce or whatever, it's hot sauce, like on scrambled eggs. Man, scrambled eggs like hot sauce. That's like the bomb. Do they do hot sauce on things? I don't remember seeing hot sauce on the tables in Amsterdam there, Dennis, but Tabasco, yep. Oh, mayo with Tabasco. Now I'm gonna have to try that. So mayo and Tabasco. You know, back in the '60s, it was just funny because I was watching Mad Men. I've been rewatching that, and there's an episode where they literally say chip and dip like 6 times in the first 20 minutes, 25 minutes, or something like that. And because there's a wedding gift that's a chip and dip thing, and what my mom would do, everybody's mom did this. They take a tub of sour cream and put in one like Lipton's onion soup mix, the dried mix, and put it in there, maybe 2 of them or whatever, and stir it all up. And then that would be the chip you did. It's actually really good. It's like, oh my gosh, I could literally go right now. Sorry, Holly, I'm making it worse. Right now, I could go through an entire bag of Lay's and sour cream and Lipton. It's so funny, Lipton dried onion soup mix. I don't think anyone ever made onion soup with that dried onion soup mix. I think they all just put it into recipes. Like, I think you can use it for like, meatloaf. I think that's one of the typical ingredients in meatloaf. Hot sauce and mustards. Yeah, I'm a big mustard fan. Mustards, I like all the mustards. I love mustards. It's a lot. Having mustard is, and sriracha ketchup is a new thing, or not a new thing, but there's also a restaurant called Slater's 50/50 that's a chain, and there's one in Pasadena, and the burgers are half meat and half bacon. and the milkshakes have bacon in them, and the ketchup has bacon in them, and the fries have bacon on them, and everything is bacon. It's Slater's 50/50. It's pretty awesome, but it's not a place I would go there every day for lunch. You would die. Curry sauce goes well with most meals. Yeah. Brown or yellow? I got into brown curry when I was in Japan. And then there was a place in Pasadena called Hurry Curry that went under, I think, after the housing collapse, when people weren't spending money at restaurants for a minute, and kind of like COVID. And there was a place called Hurry Curry, and you can, like, they had this little bowl of this clear liquid and a teeny tiny little spoon, and you would drop it into your curry, and it would go little nuclear cloud. It would be like this amazing. You would have to be very, 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 use very little, because, oh man, if you use too much, you would just be dying. Yeah, I'm not a big foodie. Jack was just in Paris with his girlfriend's family. His girlfriend's dad is head of the CIA, the Culinary Institute of America, which is where Anthony Bourdain went to school. It's the best school in the world, and so Jack's girlfriend's brother was working at a restaurant in Paris, and so the parents rented rented an apartment, a 4-bedroom apartment there, and they invited Jack and his girlfriend and their daughter and her boyfriend, basically, Jack. So, and they ate at a different Michelin-star restaurant every night. I was like, are you kidding me? Every night. So, and of course everybody's trying to impress this guy who probably he's been president of the school for years, and they definitely know who he is. So I can't imagine what those meals were like. And I don't know. Sometimes those gourmet meals are so tiny. It's like 18 different little tiny things. One thing I did in Amsterdam, Dennis, that I wanted to do when I was a kid, when I was 13, no, it was right before I turned 13, I was 12, our parents took us to Curaçao, which is the Netherlands Antilles, ABC Islands. And Curaçao is just off the coast of Venezuela. It's the only time I've ever been to the Caribbean. And we went to an Indonesian Rice-Stoffel restaurant, which, how I remembered that from age 12 to today. But it was kind of one of those things where they just kept bringing you all these, they had this big cart full of stuff, and it was, 40 different things, like dips and all sorts of stuff. That was really good. So when we were in Amsterdam, I found a Rice-Stoffel place in Amsterdam, and we went there, and it was good. I mean, it was good. It was kind of exactly what I remembered. A lot of weird different kind of meats and stuff, and then sauces and vegetables and a lot of rice. That was kind of why it's called Rice-Stoffel, I'm assuming. But that was kind of fun. Escargot. I've never had escargot. I had. I didn't have. Not mussels. What's the other word for mussels? Oysters. I'd had oysters in like clam chowder. I guess the same thing. Clam and oysters are basically the same thing, right? But my friend of mine, he took me to a really nice restaurant in Indianapolis. Probably the last place you should get oysters. About as far from the Pacific and the Atlantic as you can be. But it actually was a really high-end restaurant, and he treated, and we it's funny because we were in jeans and t-shirts, and they didn't seat us in the main dining room. They made us sit in the bar, and he literally ordered the most. I didn't even order anything. My friend Doug ordered all the most expensive stuff. We drank 2 bottles of wine, a bottle of champagne, all the most expensive stuff. That bartender was so happy because he had this giant tip. Everybody was like, wait a minute, we should have seated them in the main dining room. But yeah, I had oysters for the first time. And yeah, Doug showed me, you don't chew them, because they're gross. You just, they're salt, you put some Tabasco on them, and you just scoop it down your throat and swallow whole. And you're like, really? How is that eating? I don't understand how that's eating. It's the craziest thing. When I did that, I could taste the ocean. I've been in the Atlantic, I've been in the Gulf of Mexico, I've been in the Pacific, and multiple times, and it just tasted like the ocean. It was actually really cool. It like literally transplanted me to the ocean right there. So we went through probably 30 oysters. That was before dinner. And then we ordered like the most expensive steak, and we even got what's the flaming, the thing it takes like an hour, no, like 30 minutes to make, and the dessert. I mean, it was hilarious. He just kept going, oh, we're going to get this and we're going to get that. And he would, it was fun. Yeah. And Paul, it was, oh, you don't live in India anymore, but it was called Ocean Prime, I think is the name of the restaurant in Indianapolis. It was very good. And I didn't mind sitting in the bar at all. I just thought it was funny because he goes, hey, let's go out for dinner. He picks me up. He's wearing jeans and a shirt, and I'm wearing jeans and a t-shirt. I'm like, okay, let's go. I didn't know where we were going. And and to be honest, I'm like, I'm not a drinker. So we had between us 2 bottles of wine and a bottle of champagne. It's the only time I've ever it's the second time I've ever laid down in the bed and the room was spinning. I called Beth because it was, 3 hours earlier here. I called Beth and she was like, oh yeah, you're definitely a different person than the one I dropped off at the airport. It was funny. So, yeah, Tabasco. Yeah, we have several different kinds of Tabasco sauce. That's another one of those. You know what I really, I like barbecue sauces too. Like, if Beth makes a meatloaf, man, having a barbecue sauce. She hadn't made meatloaf in a while. That's probably because it's been summer. Now that it's getting cooler, it's actually cold right now. What's the temperature? But now that it's summer, now that summer's over, she'll probably, gosh, it's still 65. I don't think it's gonna. I don't know if it's gonna get up to 85 like they're saying. It probably won't ever hit 85. It's still cloudy out there, which I love. Got the house open up, cooling down the house for free. Gotta love that. You grew up on the Oregon coast, no longer eat seafood. We fished a lot, dug clams a lot, and went crabbing a lot. And we went crabbing. My grandparents took me crabbing. My grandpa took me crabbing in Naples, Florida. And we would take, I've told you the story before, I'm sure, but it's the funniest thing. You take string chicken necks and a big trash can. That was it. And this is amazing. It's like totally free food. So we drive. He'd take us, my grandparents had money. It wasn't like they were poor or anything like that. And but I think because they went through the Depression, like so many people their age, it was like everybody their age. Thrifty is thrifty. Thrifty is a good thing. So you just tie the chicken neck on the end of a string. You throw it out in a creek, and you just slowly drag it back. And sure enough, the crabs are all coming out after the chicken neck. And then you just would scoop them up and put them in a trash can. And there would be water in a trash can, and we'd be driving back in this giant Oldsmobile with a trash can in the back seat. Between me and my sisters, we'd all be crammed in the back seat you can hear them sloshing around back there. It was pretty funny. Roy's Restaurant in LA. Yeah, I've been there. I don't think I got the meatloaf, but yeah, you're talking about the Hawaiian place. It's Roy's. Yeah, another friend of mine who's loaded took me there. I met him for dinner, and he bought dinner. It was really good. I don't do that very often. I'm not a foodie, but I just like a really good, quiet restaurant with a really good food. And, I don't like the taste of wine, but I like the way a big glass of red wine makes me feel. Just super relaxed. Like I said, normally I've got about 12 things going on in my head at once. And with by the bottom of the glass, I'm down to 3 or 4 things. So it's actually a very peaceful place for me. I wouldn't do it every day. In fact, I'm not Sober October. I've got a lot of friends who are doing Sober October, so I'm joining all of them. So I haven't had any alcohol this month yet. What is it, the 10th? Yeah, I won't have a problem getting to the end of the month. I don't really drink that much. I'll have a glass of wine, or beer is more likely. Like if I go get sushi, I'll probably get a beer, but not this month. So Tom's instruction hit home, cuts to the chase, clear and concise. Great teacher. Who are we talking about? I'm like, what chase am I cutting to now when we're talking about seafood? There's only one Tabasco sauce. In Louisiana, call your hot sauce Tabasco, and you cease and desist letter from them. Oh, interesting. So that you're not saying that's the best sauce. You're just saying that's the one that's got the patent on the name. Interesting. So apparently I've started a food channel. I should start a new channel and talk about food, but I'm not a foodie. So how do you say that? McElhenney? I don't. It's weird. I'm not even seeing all the letters there, but McElhenney in Louisiana. Is that I's? Are those I's or L's? Where am I? Oh, there it is. Oh, okay. McElhenney Company, family-owned firm. Okay, it's the most popular condiment company you've never heard of, according to Forbes. Yeah, so Tabasco is kind of everywhere. And I would definitely, I would much rather put Tabasco on something than ketchup. I know the perception by Europeans of Americans that we put ketchup on everything, but I don't think that's so true. Especially since we have a lot more Latino Americans in our society. I think that particularly in LA, more restaurants will have Tabasco on the table than they will ketchup. Although all of that's kind of gone by the wayside, you almost have to ask for it because of COVID. They were like trying not to give people COVID by handing them bottles or whatever, but like salt and pepper shakers are all gone. That's all coming back. People are like, yeah, the vinegar-based, that's Worcestershire sauce. Ooh, I can't say it, but you know what I mean. It's good for cooking. I don't know that I would put it on much, so Trader Joe's has some really good barbecue sauces. The best barbecue sauce, well, at least the second best, the best barbecue sauce I had, I think it was when I was a kid, we would drive to my grandparents' house in Naples. It's spring break from Indiana, or sometimes, yeah, generally when we were in Indiana, we drove down. We stopped at this barbecue place, and I think I found it. I think it still exists in Georgia. I marked it. Okay, all right. No, I don't want that. Boop. All right, so zoom out. Somewhere, I put a little gold star. South of Atlanta. Yeah, it's in. I think this is the place. Really good barbecue sauce. But second to that was a place that doesn't exist anymore in Pasadena called. In fact, I was like, man, you got to bottle this stuff, and it was called Hutch's Barbecue. Hutch's Barbecue in Pasadena, right next to the Westin. In fact, it was literally Pit Stop Barbecue. Like, remember Pit Stop, the sauce? The only reason I remembered that this was the place was because when Pit Stop barbecue sauce came out, probably in the 70s, late 60s, early 70s, I thought, oh, this is from that place. And, then of course I put the barbecue sauce on there and it didn't taste anything like this place. But it's Pit Stop Barbecue, I think, in Georgia, and the town is Tifton, Georgia. It's literally you can see it from the freeway, and the freeway is the 75, which is what we would take down to Florida from Indianapolis eventually. So that was a pretty good place. Matthew, back to guitar for a second. What gauge strings do you prefer on your acoustics? For a long time, I was using 12s on top, the lights. But now I'm using, these are medium, so these are 13 on top. So they're pretty heavy. Yeah, I like the sound of the. I like the sound of the heavier strings on there, and I use elixirs. Several reasons, and I talk about elixirs all the time. But I have a video about it, and people go, "I hate elixirs; they're the worst." Whatever. But I have, I don't even know how many guitars. And the last thing I want to do is pull my Ricky 12-string out of the closet, or my Taylor 12-string out of the closet, and have the strings. I have to replace them because they're rusty. So elixirs allow me to have strings on a guitar in a case in the closet, maybe there for 6 months or 12 months before I pull it out. This one's also tuned out to. I've been using, so like I said, I've been writing music for this one TV show, and they really like this certain vibe I was going for. So, I think if you hit, oh, where is it? Oh, I don't see it. I don't know where you find those emojis. I know on a laptop, my laptop has a button where it pulls up all the emojis, which is funny. But this keyboard does not. I need to get a new keyboard. This one's pretty dirty, pretty old. Uh-oh. See, I still got a lot of coffee left. Usually by now I'd be getting low on coffee. Oh yeah, you can do the, yeah, there's a lot of emojis. You click on activities. Yeah, I don't really spend a lot of time on emojis. Funny. I'm not an emoji guy. Okay, now how to make them go away. There we go. All right. Oh, Matthew found him. Uh-oh. Dangerous. You know, Matthew, there's another button right next to that emoji. You could hit that one too. Hit that one. Ah, man. Yeah, the wedding's all over, so the wedding's all paid for. Well, the wedding will be paid for once I pay this month's credit card bills. It's all done then. Then we're on to the next, whatever the next thing is. I don't want to think about it. Probably car repairs. I hate car repairs. I hate owning cars. At least I don't own 5 anymore. I only own 2. Oh, speaking of, I think I have to pay Emma's bill. Yeah, car insurance and all that stuff. It just gets ridiculous. Okay. Yeah. Okay. All right. Let's see here. There is a super chat option right there. Oh. Because I'm an intelligent person. I doubt that. Yeah, Martin Strings, yeah, exactly, Key. That's one of the reasons I use, because keep in mind, what I'm doing all day is I'm doing session work. If I were not, I probably still would use Elixirs if I wasn't a pro, because I wouldn't want to be changing strings a lot. I still wouldn't want to play on rusty strings. But, oh, yeah, I was joking. Matthew, God bless you. Now I feel bad. Bad to take your money. I like Elixir because that's another huge reason for me, because I wish they still made the nylon ones, because those were really quiet, which is really hard to get a good sound on a classical guitar and not squeak as you're playing. But yeah, definitely when I'm sliding up on these strings because they're coated. I mean, I almost have to make them squeak. That's not very nice. I really don't hear the squeak at all, which is great. And so for recording, I think it just makes, because when I'm sending tracks to either composers or producers or engineers, and they usually always want just the dry tracks. I'll sweeten them up. I'll put reverb and compression and EQ on them for me, and I try not to go too extreme so I'm not masking any issues that might be happening sonically with the guitar. Like I don't, like if I've got a woofiness to the guitar, I'll change my mic position or change mics or something, but or change guitars rather than try to EQ it out, because that wouldn't be fair, because what I'm going to send them is what I call a dry mix, which is with all the plugins turned off, and then their engineer has their favorite plugins that they want to use and their favorite reverbs. I don't want to assume. A couple people I sent to, they want everything sweetened the way I like it because they want what I want. But yeah, so but that's another reason. So they last a long. Elixirs last a long time, especially if you don't play them. They're just in the closet. They're quiet. They're easier on your fingers. Okay, like I don't have calluses. I don't know if that's why, but my fingers just started growing softer, or like, sorry, not softer, firmer skin on the tips of my fingers. So I don't know if it was kind of an evolutionary thing that happened in my fingertips, where my fingers just learned to grow a thing. But I remember having calluses come off, and then it would be real tender, and you still had to play. But I haven't had anything like that happen in decades. And I've been playing Elixirs probably from the 90s. I was teaching clinics back then, and so yeah. In fact, would have been mid 90s, because when I started teaching clinics, they gave me these cards, and so they'd send me a stack of cards I could hand out at my clinics, and everybody that sent it in would get a free set of strings, which is really cool. And a couple of years later, I went back to I was at the NAMM show. I was talking about, that was cool that you give out these cards for people to give away at clinics, and they go, oh no, we only did that for you. So, but I brought a lot of customers, because sometimes my clinics would have 200 people at them. Fortunately, the first couple clinics I taught had 20 people because I was so nervous. But by the end of that year of teaching clinics, first year, I did it for 3 years. After the end of the first year, they were in the Seattle clinic. They were like, in '97, I had 200 people in there. They were literally standing on the windowsills, and it was pretty intimidating to at the time I was, let's see, that would have been 97, so I would have been 36. At the time, I kind of made the decision not to try to impress anybody, because I knew if I tried to do something flashy or something that I would probably mess up because I was nervous, and then they would go, oh, whatever, dude, Instead, I just gave them really good information for an hour and a half of an acoustic clinic and an hour and a half of an electric clinic. So 3 hours, and then there would be a lunch break, and then we would do band sessions with the band. So I would teach from like 9 to noon, but then we'd have an hour and a half for lunch. And what I would do is I'd say, hey, if you guys, I've got lunch waiting for me in the green room, but if you guys want to keep asking questions, let's order pizza, and I'll sit here with you for the hour and a half. So oftentimes I would do that and just sit there for the hour and a half during lunch and talk to everybody in the class. So sometimes the boss would come by and say, hey, you got to go get lunch. Like he didn't want me to wear myself out, but I enjoyed it, and I wanted to be available like I am right now. So, but yeah, it was fun teaching those clinics. It was fun traveling. It was fun for, a couple of years. The third year it got a little old, getting up super early, getting to the airport, get East Coast, getting up at 6:30 or whatever, and it was 3:30 our time. And that's why I got hooked on this stuff. I didn't drink coffee until I started doing clinics, because it was like I couldn't wake up, so I couldn't go to sleep. The problem was I couldn't go to sleep. we'd be on the East Coast, it'd be, midnight, and it's only 9 LA time, and I'm like, I got to go to sleep because I got to get up in 6 hours, and you just can't. And you get up with 3 hours sleep. It was brutal. Hit that bell. Yeah. Yeah, you hit the bell, you'll know I'll go live, and you'll also get a notification when I drop a new video, which has been a while. So clearly you're not going to get a lot of those. Although I am thinking of doing a new series, but I'm not sure how I want to do it. I may do those short videos, although the short videos are iPhone framed, right? Where insert ad? Oh, really? I could do that right now. Here's an ad. No way. Are you guys seeing an ad right now? That's crazy. Well, you might see it in a minute. Okay, so you're not seeing it. Okay, so that's probably going to be on the replay. But that's good. That's actually very helpful because I don't really position ads in breaks or anything like that. So now I know if I'm going to do like, oh, I'm going to take I'm got nothing to say, or I finished a point or whatever. I always prefer ads to be in those moments. So class of 81, you're probably about the same age as I am. Yeah, class of 79. So I'm 2 years older. Grew up during the days of the best music. Yeah, that's an interesting conversation too. And I don't think you're wrong. I don't think you're wrong on that because, like Beato talks about this. Rick Beato talks about this all the time. Like the top songs on Spotify are, classic rock songs. Like Bohemian Rhapsody. But part of the reason for that is, and that's grown a lot in the last few years, is because older people are getting Spotify. Like originally it was all young people going, oh yeah, the streaming thing. And the older people are like, what's streaming? They tend to lag behind the technology. And once they go, oh, okay, it's not too scary. And okay, I'll pay, $15 a month to have access to every record ever made or whatever. So once they do that, then those songs tend to kind of jump up, I think. But I don't think it's completely artificial because I taught guitar lessons for 35 years. And one of my favorite things to do was to teach kids in junior high, like 13, 14-year-old kids, because they would bring me like music I've never heard before. But they would also be like, no, I want to learn Zeppelin and I want to learn Jimi Hendrix and I want to learn Beatles. And so that stuff, even though for many of these kids, those groups ceased, like the Beatles broke up in 70. A lot of these kids that I was teaching were born in the 80s and the 90s. They're my kids' age, and even 2000. I haven't taught in a while, but yeah. So it doesn't really matter. Good music is good music. Is the music today less? I don't know. There's a lot more music out there, so it's harder to find it. And pop music has always been pop music. So again, if you're trying to compare, let's say the Beatles, which technically 100% a pop band. But let's say Zeppelin or Stones, and you're trying to compare pop music today to those songs, keep in mind the songs, the cream that tends to rise to the top tend to be the best of the best, right? And especially the further away you get from it. Like they don't even, on the classic rock stations, they don't even play a lot of the first two Beatle records anymore, hardly. They'll play Abbey Road and they'll play Rubber Soul and they'll play Sgt. Pepper's and all that, but they won't necessarily play something off of 8 Days a Week is not very commonly played. I'd love to see I would love to see Paul McCartney's BMI statement sometime. That would be that would be something I would buy on auction. You imagine how big that thing is? I mean, my BMI statement's like 100 pages long, but you imagine what his is like? It could be thousands of pages long. And the thing is, people tend to forget that there were Itsy with Bitsy, Zing, Weenie, Lim, Polka, you know, there were stupid pop songs in the 60s. Really stupid pop songs in the 50s. You know, how much is that doggy in the window? You know, there are horrible songs throughout pop history because generally the purveyors of pop music are 13-year-old girls. They're the ones that'll call, at the time, you know, even today, will call up the radio station. Hey, play that song that goes Ella, 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 hey, hey, hey. You know, the Umbrella song. And they're like, oh, okay, Rihanna Umbrella, yeah. And, you know, they make the songs the hits. So, and that's not a bad song, actually. A friend of mine wrote that. Some friends of mine wrote that song. So I don't really have a problem with that. But, yeah, Jeff Beck. Jeff Beck's still good. Did you see that thing that Rick Beato did about Jeff Beck and seeing him? He's 100% right about Jeff Beck. You cannot copy that guy. He plays the guitar like he's playing a synthesizer almost. Like he's changing, like with his pick, with his whammy bar, with his finger. It's like he's got these the mod wheel and everything. He really plays. In fact, it's funny because when he did the stuff with Jan Hammer, Jan would do the, you know, like synth, like Moog licks, and then Jeff Beck would imitate those. And I think, you know, and he would try to do car horns and different sounds like that. It kind of, Jeff Beck's like a musical, who's the guitar player? I want to say G.E. Smith, but no, with King Crimson that did, you know, the Elephant Talk and things like that. Cool guitar player, not Robert Fripp. I can't think of his name. Somebody will jump in. Yes. No, class of X refers to high school graduation. Yeah. Usually. I mean, unless we're talking about college, then you would say the year you graduate from college. But see, that's different for everybody because some people, you know, most people go to high school and get it done in 4 years. So when I say class of 79, that meant I started in 74 and graduated in 79. So, now, the thing that bothers me about radio stations and program directors, yeah, there's good stations. You just got to find them. Like here in my neighborhood, we have K-Sun or C-Sun, or C-Sun, yeah, C-Sun Radio, whatever it is. I forget what it is. Now, I've been listening to a lot of classical music lately, so I've been listening to KUSC. But C-Sun Radio is a bunch of K-Rock DJs. And trust me, K-Rock DJs in the 80s could play whatever they wanted. They did not have a programmer. They were all on a hunt for the latest. And they launched a million bands. The British invasion, the second British invasion, was because of K-Rock in Los Angeles. Because everybody, you know, all the directors and producers of movies and stuff listened to K-Rock in the 80s, and that's where they get a lot of their song idea, you know, the playlist for all these movies of the 80s. So, but what I wish would happen, like if the Stones come out with a new record, why can't the rock station play the new Stones record? What's wrong with that? Why do they just totally ignore the new Stones record and play the, you know, because there may be something good on there. A lot of times we like a song because we've heard it more than once. You generally don't really totally dig a song the first time you hear it. I mean, it's pretty rare. First time I listened to Sgt. Pepper's, I went, what the, what the F? Oh, Market Brown. Yeah, KLOS. Yeah, it's a 95.5. Is that right? Here in LA. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like they just play the same songs. And K-Rock's the same way too now. But here's a little trick, Rick. If you've got, in my car, I have digital radio, so it's free, but it's high definition radio. My car is really old too, but it has this high definition radio. If I turn it on and I go to K-Rock and then I hit the right button, it goes to K-Rock 2, which plays all the old 80s stuff. And I'll tell you, I thought, oh, surely I'll know every song they play. No, they go deep into playlists on that. So they may do the same thing on KLOS. They may go deep on the playlist. Certainly, and they won't necessarily have as many DJs, which is kind of nice. Exactly, Matthew. I agree with all four of those songs. Stairway to Heaven, Sultans of Swing, Sweet Alabama, and Don't Fear the Reaper. But they're very overplayed. Stairway was, in fact, three of the four of those songs are pretty long songs, so I always imagine when they threw on Stairway to Heaven, it's because the DJ had to go to the bathroom, right? Oh yeah, no, and Alice Cooper knows good guitar players. He's always hired really good guitar players in his band. I met Alice Cooper once. I would love to have like lunch with him today. Apparently he's like a killer golfer. But I met him when I was in high school, or just like 18, 19, backstage at his show, because a friend of mine was a rock star, and he got us backstage passes, so we're hanging out. I don't even think we had passes. He just walked there, and then we just walked back because everybody knew him. He was a local rock star in Indianapolis, but I met, and I was amazed at how skinny Alice Cooper was. And afterwards, years later, I thought, oh, maybe probably a heroin addict. No, I think Alice has been clean his whole life. I don't think he's ever done drugs. Yeah, I did do a lesson for a Reaper, didn't I? Was that right? Yeah, I did do a lesson for that. The more cowbell song. Yeah, Freebird is definitely one. If the DJ needs to take a dump, then he plays Freebird. It's just like, yeah, I don't know. I had a friend that played in a cover band that played like all the classic rock stuff. This was a long time ago though. I'm talking about like 1981, and the sound man had an Eventide, and my friend, they had worked this out. He had an Eventide, and he worked out a way to harmonize the guitar solo in real time with a harmonizer. I'm like, he was changing the note like this to match my friend playing guitar. It was crazy. It was like, so coming out of the speaker, his guitar was running through the harmonizer, and the sound man was changing the pitch. It was like, this is like 1981 or 82. Crazy. Little Steven has a Sirius. See, Sirius is a good place. I think you can hear a lot of things. One of the things I like, I don't have Sirius, but one of the things I would listen to all the time, to be honest, if I had a Sirius, and I literally put 3,000 miles on my car last year. I hardly ever drive. So, I like driving, but I just don't, everybody sends me, most of the time I'm working from home. What's this? Okay. All right. So, also thank you people for buying stuff at the Sweetwater link. I got a little deposit in my checking account for $100. That's what I set the thing at. It took like 2 years to get to $100 on the Sweetwater, rewards thing or whatever, the referral thing. But it's fine. $100 is $100, right? But yeah, what were we talking about? Sorry, Alabama. Oh, Sirius. If I had Sirius and I was driving a lot, I would just probably listen to film score music. I love listening to film score music. Something amazing about it, Oh, thank you, Bruce. Yeah. Yeah, I never got into Rush. I never liked the tone of, is it Alex Lifeson? I never liked his tone. I felt it was too chorusy, and he was a little bit on the sloppy side, and I didn't like Geddy Lee's voice. And I don't particularly like busy drums. I like Bonham. Zeppelin I loved. Jeff Beck I loved for guitar players. Bonham, but I never, I don't know. I also didn't get into Hendrix or Stevie Ray Vaughan because I thought they were both sloppy. Because I was a kind of a jazz snob in high school. And so I was listening to like Steely Dan, but like bebop, like Charlie Parker and Miles and Coltrane and George Benson and Wes Montgomery. I was a bit of a snob in high school. And I listened to a lot of disco because I played in a disco band, so a funk disco band. So I was listening to a lot of Earth, Wind & Fire and Toto. And when I decided to be an LA session player, that's when I started listening to Toto. And then when I visited out here in 1982, summer of 82, so just past 40 years ago, I saw Carl Verheyen at at my place, at a place called At My Place. That was the name of the club. And he was playing with a sax player, Richard Elliott, I think. And afterwards, I went up and talked to him because he was freaking amazing. And I said, hey, I'm in town for the week. Would you be available for a lesson? So I went over to his apartment in Van Nuys, and I took a guitar lesson. And he had like the Police album, the Synchronicity, out. And I'm like, why are you listening to that pop crap? You know, and that was when he turned on the light bulb there. He goes, are you kidding? Do you know how much money I make sounding like Andy Summers? And I went, who's Andy Summers? He goes, that's the guitar player for the Police. And I went, you're kidding. And he said, no, that's like the sound right now. And I'm like, oh, okay. So so that's when I started to realize, oh wait, I do need to listen to what the kids are listening to, you know. And that's, you know, was part of my journey. But because I was a Beatles fan. I mean, it wasn't like I was opposed to pop. I like pop, but I was kind of turned into a jazz snob. So the Rush kind of came along around that time, and that's why I never got into Rush. I just couldn't stomach it. But it's I think probably, again, it's all three of them. I mean, Alex's guitar tone, compare Alex's tone to Jimmy Page's. I mean, come on. Or or Jeff Beck's, or Jimi Hendrix, or it was like, yeah, I just didn't dig the tone. There's a couple of other bands I didn't really get into. I had a student that was really into Jethro Tull, so and I thought, okay, well, he just all he wanted to learn was Jethro Tull songs. So I thought, okay, so I'll learn to love Jethro Tull through teaching this guy every song in the catalog, and it didn't happen. It was like, I think it's, if the singer's voice you don't dig, then it's not going to happen. My wife and I had a band, and my wife has one of those voices where you either love it or you hate it, you know. Sometimes you got compared to Kim Carnes. And Kim Carnes kind of had a gravelly, kind of raspy voice, and that's how my wife would sing. And so some people liked our records, and some people didn't like our records. So, Can Worms, but I much prefer the subtle drummer. Charlie was a great drummer, yeah. Stuart Copeland was cool, and he would use delays on his hi-hat and stuff like that. Ginger, like, yeah, Bonzo Moon, yeah, no, but it's, well, let's see if I can find it. There's a great website. Check this out. In fact, I should post this on my my Facebook page. I haven't posted on my Facebook page forever. Gosh. Where is this? Here it is. It's still here. Okay, you won't believe this website. It's probably over 20 years old. It's probably from the 90s. It's still there, and it looks like it. It hasn't changed a thing with it. This is the greatest website, though. And it's basically a lot of Zeppelin Bonham tracks isolated. So you just have the drums. It's freaking amazing. And the thing I liked about Bonham was his grooves. Live, yeah, I agree. He was very bombastic. And same with, I didn't ever get into The Who. The Who was another one of those bands I think for me, The Who was, and I like Daltrey's voice, I think The Who was stylistically all over the map, which is funny because I like the Beatles and they're the same way. But it was hard to predict what a Who sound was. Baker, yeah. No, I knew what you meant. Ginger Baker. Ringo, freaking genius drummer. The thing about Ringo, and I played in bands, like for example, one band I played in for a long time with a drummer I played with a lot. He loved Neil Peart, or Parrott. I thought it was Peart, but I think it's Parrott. But Neil Peart, no, Parrott, whatever. Neil, he loved Neil but hated Ringo. And I'm like, how do you hate Ringo? And the bass player and I were like, how do you hate Ringo? And the thing about you know, yeah, I can't do high. I see. I mean, every drum beat was like that in the 50s and 60s. And Ringo comes along, and every single drum beat was, different. Now, did John tell him how to play for that song? Did did Paul tell him how to play? Ringo was a pro, actually, before everybody else. And so I kind of think he came up with a lot of the, most of the parts. And here's an interesting thing about there's a journalist, a famous Beatles journalist. I can't think of his name right now. He's written a couple books, or at least a couple books, and I've probably read them all. But he did a deep dive on all of the, they have all the outtakes, right? That you can hear all those things now, which is great. But he had access to all of them, and he listened to every one of them. And he said in the 8-year window, or 63 to 70, so about 7 to 8 years of them recording, less than a dozen times they stopped because Ringo made a mistake. And there were some songs that had 200 takes. Can you imagine poor Ringo, playing it perfect? I just played perfect, and that wasn't good. Let's do it again. It's like Ringo was a pro, and they didn't have metronomes, or they did, but they didn't use them. They didn't have click tracks back then. They didn't have MIDI or anything like that, and his time is freaking monstrous. So yeah, I make a living. I'm very fortunate. It took a long time, though. My career didn't really start taking off until I really got into my late 40s. And for me, it was figuring out how the business works, which is what I try to give away. Yeah, and Dennis, I know you're a prog rock lover. But here, my favorite prog rock bands, I loved, even though I think he's kind of sloppy guitar player, Steve Howe, he was also an amazing player, but I feel like his solos were kind of like, I don't know. I never got into Zappa, but I was a big Yes fan. I loved Emerson, Lake and Palmer. I don't know why, but I really liked Emerson, Lake and Palmer. Just something about those records. It's just the associations I have with them, maybe as a kid. Other prog rock bands. Who else did I have that I liked? Never got into King Crimson. I have a lot of friends that were into King Crimson. But I have to think about it. I'm sure if some of you have mentioned Johnny and Edgar Winters. Great. I loved Frankenstein growing up. I played that in a band. That was a lot of fun. But I never really got, it's hard to get into everything. And it's even harder today because there's so many more bands out there today and artists. I never worked with Hal Blaine. So Tommy Tedesco gave his career to my friend Joe DeBlasi, and then Joe's kind of given me some of his work. So professionally speaking, you might say that Tommy Tedesco is my grandfather. I moved to LA largely because of Tommy Tedesco, Larry Carlton, who I haven't met, Lee Ritenour, who I have, and Lukather, who I have met, Jay Graydon I've met. Not worked with any of them, but I have subbed for Lukather before, for just a non-profit, pay thing, Christmas thing for Harry Shearer's Christmas party. I subbed for him on it. It was fun because I got to sit next to Lee Sklar the whole time, and Lee's got thousands of stories, and so that was fun. But no, Hal Blaine, great drummer, played on 7 Record of the Years in a row, the Grammys. And then he was, at one point, I heard him interviewed, and he was living in a 1-bedroom apartment in Palm Springs working as a security guard. It's like, oh, jeez. He had a mansion in Beverly Hills and a yacht, and he had a Rolls Royce that he took from session to session in the 60s and 70s. He was paid $10,000 a week by Nancy Sinatra, and he lost it all, mainly because I think he had like 4 marriages or something. He's got a book out. I should read it. But then he kind of got back. He came back to LA and started getting work again and started speaking at things. And I think the movie The Wrecking Crew kind of brought a little more renown to him, and he was able to kind of finish his life out with the respect he was due. The thing that often happens in the pop world is that, you know, they milk you for a certain sound, whether you're an engineer or a producer, or a musician or a songwriter, and that, you know, you got this 5-10 year window where just like you're the hottest thing on the planet, and then all of a sudden nobody wants that sound anymore, and they just don't think to call you. And like I can change my sound, so I don't know why I'm still getting called to do stuff with young people, you know, and write songs and stuff. Yeah, okay. I did like Return to Forever. That's right. Aldi Meola, Return to Forever. I didn't get into Weather Report though. But I like Steely Dan. I wouldn't call them prog rock, but Steely Dan, I was a huge fan. Had every Steely Dan record. Asia is one of my favorite records. Probably a Desert Island Disc for sure. Oh, Matt Cameron. Who's Matt Cameron? What? Should I know that name, Holly? Oh, Pearl Jam's drummer. Still doing it. Sub Pop, wow. Labels, oh yeah. That's crazy. Oh, he's almost my age. Man, years of touring and all that. I mean, I'm so glad I got to see. I heard every kid of my kids' first words. I saw every one of my kids' first steps. So I do play baritone. Oh, nice. Yeah, baritone. I have a baritone acoustic, and I have a couple baritone electrics. I have a 7-string too. I almost find it easier to play the 7-string for some reason than the baritone. For some reason, when I play the baritone, I have to transpose it and think, you know, what I'm doing. It's like I can write on the baritone easier than I can do sight reading on it for sessions. But oh yes, these boots were made for walking. Yes, that was that's a great story from the, you know, that. I mean, that's what makes that song. And the funny story was that Frank Sinatra was going to record that song, and Nancy said, "Daddy, a man can't record that song. It's just mean. But a little girl can record it," is what she said. So she recorded it and had a massive hit with it. And that was the Wrecking Crew on that song. Yep. But yeah, I think Frank Sinatra was paying like $1,100 a week or something in Vegas, and Nancy was paying $10,000 to Hal Blaine a week. I'd heard that Sugarfoot, who was Michael Jackson's drummer, was making $50,000 a week, or he was making like $40,000, and then Madonna stole him, and she paid him $50,000 a week to tour with her. So, like, that's just crazy. I don't know if that's true or not, but it's like the tours don't pay anything like that. I don't care how big a name you are. Rihanna has a great guitar player playing with her on tour, although I think she's pregnant now, so she's not touring. But Nuno Betancourt plays guitar for Rihanna, and she features him on some stuff, so that's pretty cool. He's a great guitar player. Again, it's kind of that era though, where I'm just like, yeah, the Steve Vai. I mean, Steve Vai's amazing. I met Steve Vai, super nicest guy in the world. Still married to his high school sweetheart, which I love. Super nice guy. Dweezil's really nice, but I don't. It's just music that's just super duper busy. It doesn't move me emotionally. I like being moved emotionally. That's why I like listening to classical music and film scores. Film scores are designed to add emotion to emotion, so yeah. So the Tiki Tac. I have the Tiki Tac. Yeah, right. You see that back there? Yeah, that's a baritone. That's not baritone. That's a bass 6. A bass 6 is an octave below guitar. A baritone is a fourth below guitar, so its low note is B. bass 6 is low note is E. So basically a 6-string bass. And I love that thing. And like I said, I'm looking for I'm on the hunt for a Jaguar right now because it has the same electronics as that. So I really like the electronics on that. And I'm a Strat guy, so Jaguar is pretty close to Strat. Alex is a Jazzmaster guy. He has a couple Jazzmasters. I don't have a Jazzmaster, but you know, maybe someday. I don't know. I'm not. It's just like I'm just getting work done. I'm like, it's like this works. No one's complaining about anything, so I'm not in a. I don't have a gear lust anymore. You know, that just disappeared years ago. The only thing I'm really seek out are weird instruments or instruments from foreign countries that I don't have. Like I just got that the Greek or the no, it's in tune. This is a whatchamacallit, bouzouki. Oh, look at that. I don't like the blues now. Oh, come on, focus back in. What are you focused on, camera? I'm not sure how to change. If I walk away and it kind of does its own thing. Boop. Come back to. Here you go. Come here. Focus. Isn't that weird? Huh. If I walk away in, will it refocus? There we go. All right. I think I have 18 frets here. But I like the quarter tones in this thing. That's what's fun about it. I don't think I'll have a composer ever ask me to do it. Oh, it's going to go blurry again, isn't it? We're going to go blurry. I got to stop anyway. Oh, there we go. Okay. I don't know what I do or don't do that makes it. It is like a giant Beglama. 6 strings. And I have it tuned GCC right now, I think. Well, I had it B F sharp, F sharp, but I think I changed it to F sharp, BB. But now I have it tuned to G, B, C, C, which is, I think, a little easier to read on. Oh, nice. You're building a stainless steel resonator jumbo body. That's kind of cool. So like this size, this is a jumbo. So that's man, is that going to be heavy? Oh, is the whole body going to be stainless steel? That thing's going to weigh a freaking ton. I have a resonator. I have a 1929 National Duolian. It's not the tricone. The tricones are worth a lot. This one's not worth that much. It's a little bit on the noisy side. It's a little muted sounding. I actually use that cheap Gretsch one a lot more because it has more. It's closer to that sound that I'm looking for, the Jerry Douglas sound, ironically. Right now I have the string lifter that I put on there, so I can turn it from a dobro to a resonator. All I gotta do is loosen the string, slip this on, and it does both, which is great. But pet peeve, when someone defines a musician as the best. Yeah, you're right, there's no metric for that. Did I say that? I don't mean to say that. I don't think I do say that. It's not a sporting event, right? Like Tom Brady is the best quarterback of all time. Is he the best quarterback right now? No, probably Patrick Mahomes. I hate to say it. I don't know why I don't like Patrick Mahomes, but I just don't like him. I don't know. Because maybe he's just too ding-dang good, and I know that none of my teams are going to have a prayer against him if they run up against him. But single cord, electric neck? Oh, electric guitar neck. Okay, cool. That sounds crazy. Well, you'll have to join the Discord group and post pictures of it if you're not already up there. Kathy, what? You're late. Oh, but you're here next Monday. Okay, cool. It's all right. I'm about finished. I've been going for 2.25 hours. It's unbelievable. Pet peeve, there's no metric for measure the bestness in music. Yeah, not like sports where best can clearly define. Right, exactly. Highest, farthest, richest. You can declare, you can say, oh, Elon Musk is the richest human or whatever, but is he the best human? You can't measure that way. Definitely not. But is Tom, Brady the best quarterback? Yeah, probably. Best running back right now? I don't know. Maybe Jonathan Taylor for the Colts. That's one of my teams. Yeah, but that's, it's not. And you're right though. People will ask me like, who, and even favorite's a hard thing. Like, who's your favorite guitar player? I don't know. Who's your favorite, race car driver? It's like, I guess I could have a favorite race car driver, but favorite guitar player, that would be really hard, because I got into different players at different times, and different players moved me through different phases of my learning. Alan Holdsworth and Lee Ritenour and George Benson and Pat Metheny, Wes Montgomery, Charlie Christian, Django Reinhardt. I mean, Andre Segovia, Christopher Parkening. There are just too many that, Larry Carlton, Steve Lukather, that were huge influences on me. Does that mean they're my favorite guitar player? No, my favorite guitar player is probably my son Alex, because he's my favorite person that plays guitar, So, and he's a great guitar player. Yeah. Tom Brady was a Wolverine, drafted in the 6th round, right? You ever see that video on YouTube? And Tom literally, that video is pretty old too. It's like 2009 or something, and Tom literally knows the names of all the quarterbacks that were drafted before him, who totally did nothing in the NFL, but he was like the 7th quarterback selected in that year's draft, and he can tell you the 6 drafted ahead of him, and none of them did anything. It's pretty amazing. They talk a lot about in that video about his time at Michigan and why he wasn't drafted higher. It's funny because the guy he was competing for the role in Michigan, I think, went on to play baseball, not football. So he was competing with a guy that didn't even want to play in the NFL. It's definitely, I kind of gave myself nothing to fall back on, so it was either make it in music or not. And I had a very patient wife who didn't need a fancy car or fancy jewelry or a house, and was content raising 3 kids in an apartment in Pasadena. We had 2 apartments ultimately. Once the kids got a little older, we had 2 apartments, and they were next to each other, and we put a door between them. So we had a pretty big spread in Pasadena for raising a family, I thought. Still probably wasn't much more than 1,200 square feet though, which is crazy to think about. But we did it, and the kids are all productive society, members of society. And oh, sorry. I'll reach out to hire you for a track or two if you're available. Possibly, yeah. You can, if you hit me up on the Gmail account, so it'll be tstrahle@gmail.com, and then we can touch base on that. I don't know. It depends on the genre of something that I think I can add something to. Then I'm happy to do that. As far as my rates, it just depends. Again, it depends. You know, what's the question? What's your budget? That's what determines the rates. I hate to say that. That's like saying he's the best guitar player. It's like also Drew Henson. That's who it was, right, Sam? They talk a lot about that rivalry in that video. Let's see if I can find it because I've watched it a couple times. I played it for Alex the other day and he liked it. It probably will come up on my feed. Spelled Brody. Yeah, 6. Yeah, this was it here. Let me. Oh, was it NFL? Was it an NFL film set? Yeah, it could be. It could be. I watched whatever it is. I watched this, so this must be it.
Christy.
Copy. All right. So this is the Tom Brady thing about. It's just funny to me that he really knows the names of all the other. You know, he kind of was pretty ticked that he didn't get drafted sooner. In fact, I think it talks about this where on draft day, you know, they were watching and then it went the next day and it's like he had to go for a walk. I think he actually got drafted and he wasn't watching when it happened. Yeah. Well, Matthew, I'll tell you, my greatest fear in life is that my wife will, when I die, my wife will sell all my guitars for what I told her I paid for them. That's just a joke. My guitars will all go to Alex. He's already looking forward to it. Kind of freaks me out. I'm just kidding. But every time I buy a guitar, I'm like, well, this will be yours sooner. You'll have this longer than I will. Yeah. This old apartment, exactly. All right, I'm gonna log out. I've got to get some work done today. I got to do something with this day. But I appreciate you all a lot. Thank you for the coinage, and for the super chat stuff. That really all adds up, believe it or not, and allows me to keep doing this. And then we'll next week we'll probably talk more about this. I'm not sure. I may move on. I may also talk about it in the context of bluegrass, which we've already done, or country. We've already done that before, way back when, but I kind of like the continuity of talking about it. And then my video series I'm doing, I'm thinking about teaching you how to come up with 2-5-1 progressions. You know, 2-5-1 licks. And, you know, quickly. And so that I've got a couple tricks up my sleeve that I can, if I need to come up with a lot of 2-5-1s, I can do it without too much struggle. So, favorite pedal, probably the Sparkle Drive. It's kind of one of my always on pedals. I use it just for a slight clean boost, but also I gain it a little bit so that even on the clean sounds, it's got a little bit of sparkle on top. I'm not going through one right now because for recording, I just going through a little bass compressor on the bottom. You can't even really hear it. It's very subtle. It gives me a little bit of gives me a little bit of sustain too. Heard a little pop in my speakers. All right, I hope everything's not still in stereo. Anyway, I'll see y'all next Monday, and if I do a video, I'll probably shoot it in here. I'm not going to do a too fancy of a video. I'm just going to probably do a close-up camera so you can see the hand, and then also we'll do, the thing is I have to do a lot of diagrams like these things here, and that's what takes time, and then editing the video together. But if I do short little ones, like one lick per video, maybe that's a better way to go rather than doing 1,000. But the concept will be in the first video. And then the question is, do I repeat the concept in every video? The concept, because the best compliment I've ever gotten, and it's not been once, I've gotten it more than once, is that I don't teach how to play music, I teach how to make music. And that's exactly what I want. So I'm not like showing you a lick, I'm showing you how I came up with the lick. And so that's, to me, much more valuable because I'm basically teaching you how to fish rather than giving you a fish, right? That's kind of the thinking there. So no worries, Keys Cook. I'll talk to you later, everybody. God bless you. Bye-bye.